What's going on, herd? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in to another video. Today is the day we begin our transition. But before we get our transition on, we need to compare what we've been doing to what one of the things we're gonna be doing. Okay, so let's get at it here. Today we're going to be comparing the driftability within Grand Theft Auto 5 versus Forza Horizon 3. So I think it goes without saying that, yes, you can drift in both games, GTA 5 and Forza Horizon and Forza Motorsports being, obviously the same damn game, just in a different layout. And what can also be said, if you have drifted within both of them, is there are a plethora of pros and cons that come with both of them. That is my intent of today's video. Let's discuss those pros and cons. So let's talk about the pros. Why do we drift in GTA 5? A lot of people ask this question. Why are you drifting in GTA? It's not a drifting game. And I did come up with a list of pros on why we do this. Now, the first one is the clear cut and dry one. Custom tracks. Yes, custom tracks. If I envision a track and I can make it, I will build it and they will come, correct? And they have. I've made 10, 20, 30 drift tracks between Xbox One and PS4. It's much more than 10. I don't even know why I said 10, but what counted up around the 30 mark probably is pretty accurate. Now, the fact of the matter is there's not a lot of creators, but the creators that have been producing or are done producing or still are producing, they are creating some pretty decent material. Now, there are some phenomenal tracks. I've made some really great tracks, and I've seen some people that have made some really great tracks. The custom track thing is a major thing. You can make any track. If you can envision it and you can build it within the prop limit, you can make it. And as you've seen, or are seeing here, as we're talking, there's a plethora of different abilities that you can do. There's not just one terrain. There's not just one way of doing it. There's a lot of different ways of making this happen. Now, the custom tracks also ties into the second pro of GTA. No traffic. Now, some of you are saying, what? No traffic? There's traffic all over GTA. Yeah, but with a quick startup of a job, and honestly, you don't even need to know how to make a track. You can just literally start a job, turn traffic off, name it, and go start it up, and you can drive across the entire map with no traffic on it. Now, we'll talk about the opposite in Forza Horizon when we get there, but the real fact of the matter is you can't turn it off in Forza Horizon. That's a major thing. Trying to drift, you don't really want people coming at you. You don't want people unpredictably driving towards you. Yeah, you want to have a nice open path. And even when we have a lot of people on the track, they are taking turns going. That's how it goes. If you crash, then everybody crashes. You crash your vehicle, then you need to go restance it and all this other stuff. And it just turns into quite this long process. So the no traffic thing is a major pro. Next on the pro list is dedicated players. You have some of, I would say, probably some of the most dedicated GTA players in the drifting community. People that have been ignored since day one are still being ignored on year 5, but yet still are into making events and making product for people, creating videos and content on YouTube for people that want to, the smaller community that are actually interested in what we're doing. And obviously another pro here, if you are a content creator or an influencer on the GTA drifting community, it leaves a lot of room if you're even halfway decent at creating videos to get a number of subscribers. Now, that number is limited. You're not going to get hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Not anymore. Maybe on day one, talking about like RWD Media and whatnot, he was posting day one on GTA when GTA had millions of players playing it. It just doesn't have that anymore. People aren't interested in it, and a lot of people have already viewed and understand how to drift and understand these things, and most of those people that know how to drift don't even play the game anymore. They're long gone. But with those dedicated players, it comes a lot of great times and a lot of great content as well. Now, the pro list isn't that long on GTA, but still here ending it up. Once you do figure out how to drift, and you figure out the numerous different styles of drifting, and you figure out the community, and you realize which niche you would rather be in. Do you want to be in this person's group, or do you want to be in this person's group, or do you want to be in this person's group? And unfortunately, it's that way. I hate to say it that way, but that's how it's been made by individuals. When I came in, I wanted to be open to everybody, and essentially if you wanted to be a D-bag, I'd treat you like a D-bag. And unfortunately, there was there was a good handful of people that wanted to act like D-bags. So that's where we got, and that's where we're at. So it's split even more. But I still do have a really great chunk of people in the community that drifted with me and had a great time at the events that we threw. And those people were a lot of fun. I met a lot of great people. I met a lot of great people from the ages of, probably 8 years old all the way up to 40, 45 years old. I met a plethora of people, and a lot of people that I still look forward to playing with to this day. And I will play with to this day. Obviously, I've been absent for a little bit, so I haven't talked to some of these people in a while. But reading those comments section of the last couple of videos, guys, absolutely amazing. You guys are awesome. So summing it up here on the pros, the rewarding aspect, once you get that clutch kick down and you learn how to throw that car sideways and you learn how to link left to right and then you learn how to link the whole track clean, there's nothing that beats it. I mean, there probably is something that beats it, real drifting or something like that, or, drifting in other games and doing a similar thing, but it's so rewarding within GTA because you feel like you're not supposed to be doing it. You're not, really enabled to do it. So you're kind of like cheating the game, and then you're good at it, and you're able to do it really well. And a lot of people around you aren't that great at it, so it allows them to come to you, and then it makes you feel more like, hey, I do have this talent. I do have this skill. And if you're like me, you enjoy helping people learn, and so you can help them learn. And fun and rewarding as the final pro. Now, unfortunately, that's where the pros end. So we have discussed the pros of GTA 5 drifting. Now let's discuss the cons. Unfortunately, the list is long. Well, let's start it off where most people would start it off. The lack of vehicles that we can actually drive. The lack of vehicles that will actually successfully drift within this game. That's a major downfall. We only have a few. The Schwarzer, the Banshee 900R, the Comet Retro, and the Rapid GT. There are other vehicles that will drift in the power sliding and handbrake sliding, however you refer to it that way. But in the competitive style of drifting where you're doing a high-speed drift and continuously drifting, connecting a whole line as you would in Formula Drift or what we call Pro Line within GTA, you're very, very limited. And I would say it's 4 cars as of now. It used to be more, but Rockstar has really switched it up. Now here's another one. Once you do find the vehicle that you enjoy the handling line of, the tire smoke is extremely unrealistic. It doesn't actually have a lot of tire smoke at all. You have people within the game that'll change the color of the tire smoke just to allow it to be seen a little bit more. If you leave just the plain white tire smoke, it's very minimal and you don't really see it. Now compared to if you go watch some Formula Drift and they're roasting up the tires and really rolling the smoke, yeah, obviously it's nothing in comparison to that. Next on the list for cons of GTA drifting is the learning curve. Now some people view this as a pro. Obviously there's a big difference between the good drifters and people that are just getting into drifting. Some players view this as a pro instead of a con simply because it's obviously some of the good drifters that are viewing it that way. And it's simply because they look good every time they get on the track. And I mean, that's not a pro to me. I would like to actually have some competition and have some fun. And when there's only probably a handful of players actually out there that will give a lot of competition, it makes it tough to hold things like the Pro Line Drift Series, and it makes it tough to have good side-by-side tandems, all that good stuff. So the learning curve and then the difference in skill, it's a big con in my opinion, in my book. Next on the con list is the removed exploits. Obviously the exploit I'm talking about is the speed boost glitch, the clutch kick, the whatever you call it. I know there's no clutches in GTA. We're over that now. We don't have to keep commenting that. Whatever you refer to as that exploit that Rockstar gave us. And it's not even really an exploit. It's a thing that was obviously in the coding of the game. You can speed up the car in the top of second gear. Obviously, if you stance your vehicle and make it slippery, it will drift if you have the right car. Now, Rockstar has removed that recently, and I don't think they're planning on putting it into the rest of the vehicles. So that obviously kills drifting for us across the board. It only leaves us with the vehicles we've already had, and it really leaves us worrying, are they going to change these vehicles as well? Next on the con list is game creator ignores the community. I just was talking about Rockstar in the last one. We just got done talking about Rockstar. They're changing stuff up. Not only are they changing stuff, and yes, drifting is a small community. Yes, GTA is not meant to be a drifting game, but in that same sense, Forza isn't a drifting game. Gran Turismo, Assetto Corsa, they're not drifting games. They're racing games that you can drift within. Okay, on that same hand, Rockstar, Grand Theft Auto is a game, an open world game that you can drift within. So it makes it just as much of a drifting game as the other games. However, I understand why people don't view that as a correct statement simply because It's a lot more realistic on the other games. There's a lot more options you can do. And yes, I understand why they say they're drifting games, quote unquote, but they're not. They're not marketed as drifting games. They're just simply marketed as racing games that you can drift within. It's one small part of the game that you can do. Same thing with Grand Theft Auto. Nothing changes there. It's a giant game that allows you a plethora of activities you can do, but drifting is one that you can do once you get the right build and you learn how to actually conduct it properly. Now, that brings us into the next con. There's way too much room for opinion versus fact. Because there's numerous ways of quote-unquote drifting within GTA, and because Rockstar doesn't actually acknowledge us drifting, and they think that the Drift Tampa is the most drift-worthy car that we've gotten, and they put all these customizations in the bumpers and the hoods and all that stuff that say drift, quote-unquote, yeah, obviously, it's leaving way too much room for groups that are doing certain aspects like single gear drifting or speed boost glitching or just handbrake sliding to say that they're right and the others are wrong and this isn't a drift game and you're not right. And it's way too opinionated in the game, and that's really what has split the community into different groups. You have groups over here and groups over there, and some groups don't even like each other because obviously some are getting more clout than others and blah, 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 and it just goes on and on and on. And you don't really have any desire to bring these communities together, this group together into one community. Everybody just wants to be right. Everybody doesn't want to be, no one wants to be wrong, and obviously that goes directly into the real world. The real point of the matter is there's way too much room for opinion versus just talking facts in GTA, and that's mainly, predominantly, to be blamed on Rockstar. They don't acknowledge our community, so our community it's made up of a bunch of people that are just creating the community one by one. The more following these individuals get, the more people that believe that their way is correct and therefore then believe the other ways are incorrect. And that's just not correct. Now with the last couple left here, obviously we talked a pro here in GTA is the custom tracks and then the ability therefore to turn off the traffic. But it also goes into a con, that same thing. There's not very many people that create tracks, and then when you do look at everybody that creates the tracks, it's even a tiny fraction of people that are creating tracks of high quality, tracks that are consistent, tracks with elevation, things like that. Like they're very, very difficult to make. Therefore, you don't have very many people interested in trying to do it. Some people are interested in trying to do it, and they just can't do it, so they get frustrated after a while, and they're like, oh, screw it, I can't do it. It's way too intricate. It's way too intense. And yeah, it is. Until you learn how to do them and how to really map things out, things can be a little difficult, but that is a major con here in GTA. Our main thing that we like in the drifting of GTA is the custom tracks and then the no traffic. But when there's only a few people out there making custom tracks and they have no traffic, and then some of them are people that you don't like or don't care for or don't affiliate with at all, guess what? That's even limiting it more, and that's all because of the way that they have viewed and the way that Rockstar has left out. It's not really that you don't like the person. That's not necessarily like that. It's simply, and maybe it's like that in some aspects, but really, in all honesty, it's because there's way too much opinion versus fact. So with few track creators, that leaves us to our final con of GTA 5, drifting, and that is that if you want to use a force feedback wheel, you're not really going to be able to. You can do a mod on PC and you can obviously make it happen, but even then it's really not that accurate. I've seen it on YouTube where people put in this and they are able to use their Thrustmaster on GTA. It just doesn't, it's not that great. It's not as cool as you think. And then, obviously, GTA isn't solely a driving game, so what happens when you get out of your vehicle? You're pushing all these buttons and you're trying to do things. It's just very, very difficult. The game was not meant to be used for a wheel. So if you want the most realistic factor you can, and you want a racing rig, and you actually want that wheel and the shifter and the pedals, unfortunately, guys, it's not going to work for you on GTA. So Forza Horizon 3, and just Forza in general, Forza Motorsports, Forza Horizon. The point of this video is to really compare the two, but obviously this is a beginning of our transition. You will be seeing more Forza Horizon videos coming out, and obviously we will be seeing Forza Horizon 4 releasing soon, and we're going to be making a future video on that one. But for right now, let's just focus on the newest of the two, so Forza Motorsports 7 and Forza Horizon 3. What are the pros of this? Well, obviously, guys, you have tons of cars. You have a lot of cars. Just about every single one of the vehicles could be edited. They could be tuned tuned to drift. The game is so in-depth that you can go to rear-wheel drive, you can go to all-wheel drive, depending on whatever it is. The game has a lot of ability to tune your vehicle, so if you want to go drift a Fiat around, you'd probably just would never see drifting, then you go do that. There's a plethora of vehicles in the game, and the best thing about it is they're not fake vehicles, they are licensed vehicles. Obviously, the creator of the game has paid the companies to feature the vehicles in the game, and they are as realistic as the game could make them. Now, the graphics are great in the game, the cars look awesome, and they handle great. You can adjust everything. You have full control over how these cars handle, depending on how you tune them, or whatever tune you download. You can get tunes from your friends, you can get well-known tunes from other players. That brings us into tune. Obviously, that is the tunability, that is the second of the pros. The cars are one great thing, but the tunability of the cars are a whole different aspect. You can drift any vehicle you want in the game, as long as you want to spend the credits in the game to swap it over and get her rolling. Now, I might be lying, you might not be able to drift every single vehicle, but from what I've seen, you can convert any vehicle over to rear-wheel drive so far. You can swap the engines, you can swap the transmission, you can swap everything within the engine. Tons of cars, tons of tunability and customizations, and that'll bring us into the third pro here for Forza, and that is it's relatively easy to learn, especially on a controller, especially once you get the vehicle tuned properly. Put some better tires on there, get it all set up, get your engine in there, give you a little bit better acceleration, set it to a manual transmission so you can use the right stick for your shifting and all that good stuff. That'll help you tremendously. Going back to Grand Theft Auto, it's extremely hard to actually get a high skill built up in the drifting. Over here, not really. I mean, high skill, yeah, it probably still is going to take you quite a bit of practicing. It's going to take you some commitment here in the game. But if you just want to get out and do some drifting and have some fun, not only is it more realistic, but it's easier to learn. Now, that realistic comment there that I just made is going to bring us into our fourth pro here, and that is realism is king. I'm not saying that this game is king. I'm just saying realism in general is what we're not getting in GTA. Yeah, we can drift and we can have a good time, as we talked about, but this is very realistic. Now, I want to make a point here, guys. Forza and Gran Turismo are not marketed. They are, I repeat, they are not marketed as simulators. They are arcade racers, okay? They are not simulators. The only game that I've seen, a well-known game, that is marketed as a simulator, meaning it's going to be as realistic as you can get, is Assetto Corsa. Now, Project Cars as well is very, very close to a simulator. I don't know if they market that one as a simulator or not, but Project Cars it's very close to it. Not really my forte. It's, but that's all opinion, so we're not really going to go down the opinion road, but realism in general, whether it is, an arcade racer, which is very realistic nowadays. These aren't like an arcade game that you would go play like a Cruise in the USA, if you remember that game back in the day. It's nothing like that. Obviously, we've made it years and years and years past that, but still, this is not a simulator. This has not been designed to be perfect to realism, for the handling and the feedback that it's going to give to your wheel and all that. Is it realistic? Absolutely, it's realistic. Very realistic. But is it a simulator, of a racing simulator? No, it's not marketed as that. Now, in the other hand, you could argue that, yeah, it does simulate racing. It's very good at it. It's very good. Now, the final pro, and I'm sure there's more pros for both Grand Theft Auto and Forza, but these are the main ones that I really wanted to note, and that is Forza Motorsports has all of the real-world drift tracks. Maybe not all of them, but they have a lot of them, like Atlanta, Long Beach. So you can literally customize a vehicle, take it to the track, go to the section of the track that they use in the Formula Drift series, and you can drift the part of the track. You can turn the traffic off. We talked about that in the last section of GTA 5. You don't have any traffic in Forza Motorsports, but honestly, when we're just talking Forza in whole, you do have traffic in the horizon. So yeah, that's a big pro to have. If you want that realism factor, again, we're not a simulator, but we're dang close to it here at Forza. You got all the real tracks, and it's a lot of fun. I went to Atlanta, I sucked. I went to Long Beach, had some fun. I do have Forza Motorsport 7, so maybe we'll be seeing some of those videos as we move forward as well. Another pro on the list here, guys, is the ability to use a force feedback wheel if you have one. Yes, you can actually use your force feedback wheel, and it's accurate. You can do first person. You can do third person. You can do whatever you want, and you can use the wheel. Now, I say accurate, but it's going to only be as accurate as your wheel allows it to be. If you have a force feedback wheel, you have a force feedback wheel. But once you get into the force feedback, there's a big difference in quality. Okay, big difference in quality. And we're going to talk about that in the cons actually below, believe it or not. So, although it's a pro to have the ability to use it, there's also a con that goes with it that we're going to talk about here, guys. With all pros in all great games comes cons. Obviously, we like GTA. I mean, it's dying and it's going down, and you know, we got lesser and lesser motivation to play it. We're specifically talking about drifting here, okay, guys? And that's where we need to get into Forza Horizon. Now, I enjoy Horizon more because it's an open world feel. It's more of like a street drifting feel. But the problem is, and this is going to bring us into our first con, is the traffic. The traffic is horrid. Not only do you have the traffic, the normal AI traffic, but you have your friends, you're on your friends list being portrayed in an artificial intelligence manner too. And sometimes they race. And while you would be, you know, calculating out a perfect line and whatnot, and then all of a sudden they're in your lane trying to race and you're totaled out in the damn pole. And all you're doing is just trying to drift a decent line. Now, this con goes a little bit further. They have drift sections in Forza Horizon 3. And these drift sections are trafficked heavily. You need to go out there at the middle of the night, and you still will have quite a bit of traffic. You know, you're going to have to perfectly do it. And the traffic here on Forza Horizon is backwards to the United States because it's in Australia. So you're driving on the left side of the road. It's just not the greatest. It's not ideal for drifting to be having all that traffic and then having your friends run around. So you're in the middle of your drift line, and all of a sudden 2-3 people come flying past you that aren't real people, but they got their gamer tag over them, and they take you out, and boom, oh, you know, failed. So that's probably the most frustrating factor that I have with Forza Horizon. Now, Forza Motorsports, of course, you're not going to have traffic, but again, we're trying to keep this all in one sequence here, so that's probably the biggest con I have with the Horizon series. Now, also sticking with the Horizon series, Forza Horizon 3 has very, very few drift-worthy spots. Yes, we talked about the drift lines and the drift sections that they have where you earn the points specifically by drifting, but they all have traffic. So if you want some place that doesn't have traffic, you only have a couple places. You have the Forza Horizon parking lot, which is, I mean, you drift around in that for a little while and you're pretty burnt out on that. It's like a building that's unfinished, the construction site that you can go over to, and you can drift that building that goes up and down. And there are a couple other places as well. I know the airport you can go, and then also the first place that you start, that first festival that you start, has a nice little circle, like figure 8 area that you can drift out to. So there are a few places that have minimal or no traffic that you can drift. But I mean, that's like a day of drifting, and you're going to be burnt out on all them spots. So if you're just playing Forza Horizon or Forza in general, and you want to drift within Forza Horizon without traffic, not a lot of options. That is definitely a con. Now, we talked about the tuning and the customizability of these vehicles, but one thing I want to say that is negative and is a con is they lack in some of the customizability, specifically on the interior. You can't put in racing seats. You can't strip it. You can't do anything like that. You wouldn't be able to switch it from right-hand to left-hand drive, anything like that. No hydro brake. It leaves a lot of room that they can add in. Now, I understand that there's lots of vehicles, and then to bring in the interiors of all those vehicles, they're already in there because you can go first person. But then to edit those interiors and make them accurate and all that, I get it that it's a lot more work, but you can customize the interiors in GTA. Why can't we do it in Forza? Well, I answered why, because it's a lot more to do, and obviously they have to make it as realistic as possible because they licensed the vehicles here. But still, it's something I would definitely like to see. Now, even easier to do is allow us to tint the lights, allow us to change our tail lights, allow us to do change our exhaust tips, things along those lines. And those are things that I have not seen the ability to do in any of these vehicles that I've so far edited and tuned. And why can't I change my exhaust tip? I mean, I don't like the look of some of the exhaust tips that come stock on the vehicles. Why can't I change the tune of my exhaust? That would be very nice. You can kind of based on your engine, but you can't make your exhaust louder or quieter based on the exhaust you put on. Again, kind of a leaving room for error there. Again, with the lights, you see a lot of vehicles that are tinting their lights to a certain degree within the legal standard. I know it's illegal in a lot of states to do, but now moving down on the con list here, if you do have a force feedback wheel and you do want to use it, obviously we can't use it in GTA, so it is obviously a big pro to have that force feedback usage there. The issue is if you do have a force feedback wheel, Forza Horizon updates all the damn time. That means you're going to have to plug in your wheel to your computer and update your firmware and then plug it back in, and hopefully it works. And then you log on 2 days later and your shifter won't shift, and you got to plug it back into your computer and update it again. It is extremely annoying, especially when you spend $400, $500, $600 on a racing rig just to have to plug it into your damn computer and update it for 20 minutes every time you want to play. Now, I'm exaggerating a little bit. It's not every time you want to play, but in the frequency that I play, that is kind of accurate. I pretty much have to update the damn TMX every time I want to use it, and so therefore I don't really use the damn thing anymore. Not that I play much Forza prior to this point, but that is that. Now, the final one here is Forza is not on both consoles. It's not on PS4. They have Gran Turismo, which is not on both consoles. It's not on Xbox One. So it kind of splits my demographic a little bit. It's a lot of the PS4 players aren't going to want to watch Forza. And a lot of the Xbox One players aren't going to want to watch Gran Turismo, or vice versa, whatever you were to post. And that kind of sucks, As I said, it's kind of splitting your demographic right down the middle, and that's not really what you want to do. We are going to be moving into other games, such as Assetto Corsa, and kind of just, testing them out and seeing what those more simulator-oriented games that are on both consoles have to offer there, guys. So with all that said, that's going to sum us up on the pros and cons of Forza. And that is going to do it for this one, homies and homettes of the herd. I appreciate you all tuning in, liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing the videos if you're sharing the videos. If you're not sharing the videos, share the videos, damn it. What the hell are you doing? All right? All right, as always, guys, I hope you all stay happy, stay positive, keep your eyes peeled for new stuff to the channel, and we will definitely speak to you next time.